Hey you guys, back from my mission, and oh, there is so much to tell, but I will try to condense it way down, okay? So, from my previous audio, you guys know how the enemy tried to block me from all sides from going out and doing the Lord's evangelism work today. So, I left the house about 9:30 a.m. I had to stop off at the Dollar Tree to pick up some paper and a clipboard to write people's names down to pray for them. That's what I usually do later after I witness to them. We decided to go to Burger King's drive-thru to pick up some breakfast, a couple croissants. Then I end up seeing a barbecue chicken strip, so I asked for that so that we can have that for lunch later. And they said that it would be an extra 5-minute wait on them to fry those strips. Well, I was a bit agitated after the 5 minutes kind of drove by. You know, it turned into about actually 10 minutes or so, which I felt it put me behind in my schedule of getting on the freeway I-94 at 10 o'clock. Because it's usually crowded, and I figured from where I live up north it would take me about an hour to get there. So let me see here. God wanted me to it would take me an hour to get to where God wanted me to go. Because remember, I didn't know exactly where he wanted me to go. So I just knew Detroit. So me and my teenage daughter, we finally got our order, and we pulled off a little late. So I was feeling annoyed, like, oh my goodness, we are still going to be late, backed up on this freeway when 11 a.m. hits, because it's like after 10 a.m. right now. It's going to take an hour, so we're all driving and everything, and all of a sudden we find out that about 10 minutes prior to us getting to this point, there had been a car accident. A semi-truck and a car crashed into one another, and the truck and car were in pieces. We actually saw a flatbed picking up the truck's load that the truck was carrying, and I realized that it probably was the devil's plan for it to actually be us, and Jesus made us late waiting on those barbecue chicken strips at Burger King, to deflect us from death and protect us. And it was just like, wow, it was really sobering, to look at that and say, wow, that could have been us had we been those amount of minutes, 10 minutes or so ahead on schedule, what I thought to be on schedule anyway. So I praise Jesus, I said, that would have been very, very bad, and I prayed for those people who were in that accident. But definitely it would have been us had we been earlier. So God knows how to make miracles happen. So the next thing I had to do was wait actually on God to direct my path as I was driving, because again, I did not know where in Detroit I was going. The only message I got from him about a month and a half ago was go to Detroit on June 11th and be there at 11 a.m. period. That was it. So I'm driving down 94. I hear in my spirit take a left on the Lodge Freeway, so I did. I then saw a picture in my head of an area that I'm familiar with, and he said that's where I was supposed to go. I remembered the street. It was off a street called Davison Road, and I ended up in a place in the middle of Detroit called Highland Park, a little sub-city. You kind of drive through Detroit to get there, and you're there for about 4 minutes driving through, and then you're back in Detroit. It's just a little spot in the middle, a little city, and Highland Park. And all of a sudden, it was like as I'm driving to get there to that destination, I knew exactly now at this point where I'm supposed to go. As soon as I got that revelation, it's like I didn't really even have a chance to say, wow, or think anything about that area and getting there. There was all of a sudden, it was like heaven opened up a floodgate, and rain just dropped down on our cars, those of us who were on the freeway. Like someone poured a bucket of water on top of us from heaven. It was really scary. I felt as if I was going to hydroplane and off of the road or flip or something, you know. And then it didn't help that there was an ambulance like tailing right behind me, you know, looking like a bad omen, okay, following me just so close up on my bumper, you know. And then here comes the devil talking in my ear saying, see, you were wrong. This was not the day for you to come out and witness. You should turn around and go home and try again another day. You clearly misunderstood. Look at all of this rainfall. That is what he actually said to me, you know. And I said no. I really felt like that wasn't me. It was just like something saying that to me. You were wrong. You got your days mixed up. But I know that I didn't, because I wrote it down specifically. So as I drove, I felt led to this place, and to this area, the street, Davison in Highland Park. And from that point, I literally was led. Okay, go here, go. It was like I knew instantly what to do. It was in my head to know where to go exactly. So I pulled up in Highland Park shopping area where there was a grocery store, there was shoe store, there was clothing stores, there was Foreman Mills. I mean, it was so lively, and it was so perfect of an area to witness whatever it is that you're trying to sell or do to such a massive amount of people, that I couldn't have ever thought of pulling up and witnessing in that area, because I never have before. I never thought about going there ever, you know. But I did used to live in that area years ago, so I knew exactly where it was when the Lord told me to go there. So I pulled up in the parking lot in front of Foreman Mills, and I put the car in park, and something told me to look at my watch. And so I looked at my watch, and the watch said 11 a.m. on the dot. Not 11:01, not 10:59, but 11 a.m. sharp. I screamed to my daughter, you know. I said, would you look at God? Look at him. He got us here on time through disaster and incident and accident and rainfall and almost, you know, hydroplaning off the road, almost dying. I could have died, you know. He got us here like sharp, like not a second ahead, you know, late. I was just so impressed with the Lord at that point. I was just like, wow, you know. So then as we were about to get out of our car, a man pulled up alongside of me, looking very grim at me. You know, I kind of froze a bit because he jumped out of his car so fast. You know, it looked like he barely put that thing in park, and I wasn't sure if he was about to rob or carjack me or what. I had already taken my keys out of the ignition because we were going to get out of the car and get started. You know, my first thought was to turn the key and drive off, you know, but the keys, they're sitting there in my hand, you know, and I'm kind of froze, like looking at him, he grimming back at me just with this evil look. And my daughter, all of a sudden, super quick, super fast, she saw his look, and she was like, okay, she clicked the lock button on the car, and I was like, okay, good job, you know. But it looked rude, you know, after he walked by and he went into the store. It did look rude, you know, like, oh, I see, you know, a person come and click, you know. But he was looking at me crazy, you know, and I laughed so hard because, you know, I have not lived in the hood, and that was the hood. I haven't lived there for about 3 years, and I actually forgot about the hard hood looks that, you know, they give, and, you know, because it's like where I live, we don't do that to each other, you know. We don't have to do that, you know. It's like, no. But I used to have that same look, you know. When I lived in the hood, I would have my own mean mug, as they call it, you know, look too, you know. Someone tried to, you know, approach me one time. At the time, I was catching a bus going to and fro to work, and this man, I got off the bus, and he jumped in front of me, and he, you know, looked at me like this, and he said, so what's up? Like that. And I looked back at him. I said, nothing with you. and I rolled my eyes and I walked off, and I went into a store and came out. It was nighttime, about 10 p.m. And I came out, I heard somebody screaming, and it was a lady that he had actually, after he left me, he snatched her and pulled her into the bushes and was trying to rape her. So it's like in the hood, we had to be tough. So I guess I kind of lost that moving into the suburbs where I live now. I don't have that, that mug back. So I lost it. I softened up. I forgot about it, or else I would have, I guess, given him back a look of like, hey, I'm not scared of you or something. Hood protocol. I don't know. I'm not sure. I believe it actually was a spirit, because I really cannot recall in past time being looked at so evilly by a man. I mean, it really was a evil, sinister look. Like I said, my child, my teenager, she clicked that lock. She took one look at him and clicked that lock button. So even she saw it, and everything. So, she did the right thing, but it blew over, after it all blew over, I had a big sigh of relief and a hearty good laugh, and we got out the car and we went to work witnessing. Okay, so after a few people and after a couple super positive responses from the saints being so happy and uplifted to see other saints out witnessing Jesus, and telling people that he's soon to come, they were pumped up, which pumped us up even more. Okay, many people even told us their testimonies of their salvation, themselves, and it was awesome, how we were all able to talk and fellowship with strangers, as family in Christ, So we were out there actually for about 5 hours, and the last maybe 45 minutes or so, there was a man giving away free insurance. He walked up to us with his clipboard asking if I had insurance. And I said, well, yes. I said, in turn to him, I asked him if he had Jesus. And he was a bit stunned, repeating, what I had said. Do I have Jesus? He said, yes. He said he has him every day. And we laughed and we spoke briefly, about the word and Jesus. And he said that there was a bus stop full of people whom he had just spoke to. So I was thinking, jackpot, that's where we're going next and everything. So when we get there, didn't the bus pull up and take all of the people out of my reach? Took them swiftly on off down the yellow brick road. I was upset. So as the smog smoke from the bus that just pulled off began to dissipate, I see across the street, clear as day, a set-up canopy with a small table and 2 people in chairs sitting there, and a huge sign that says free cell phones. Okay, so I get excited because I see several people there. I have a few pamphlets left that says on there, it has a box, a gift box on it, on the pamphlet, and it says that salvation is free. Okay, so it was like, hey, connection, confirmation. So I went over there. I signed up for my daughter to get a free cell phone as a lead to get into the camp over there. There was, of course, one lady who seemed to be very aggravated at me and another saint there that we were speaking about Jesus. I mean, it seemed as if we were throwing acid on her skin or something, the way she was behaving. And there's so much more to that story, but long story short, I spent the rest of the time witnessing to several groups of people who were standing there waiting to get their free prepaid phones activated. It was like catching fish in a barrel, you guys. Oh man, it was the perfect cap on a perfect mission. Okay, it was the best witness day ever that I ever had, and since 2001. It was so much fun, and it was great. I can't wait to do it again. uh, we may have stayed walking around till about 7-8 p.m., but my daughter, she said that she was starting to feel ill and that her legs were giving out on her from under her. She's younger than me. So I ended up saying, okay, let's go home. And you guys, you know what? Another best part real quick about it is that not one single drop of rain fell on my hair weave. Not one all day. But as soon as we got home in the house, the rain fell so hard. I said, would you look at Jesus and how he held that rain back for us to witness his word on today? And then I thought about those boys in the Bible who were thrown into the fiery furnace, Meshach, Abednego, and I forget the other guy's name. And they were thrown into the fiery furnace because they didn't worship Baal. And God kept them from being burned. So for me, it was like, if he can do that, he can hold back the rain from touching this good hair weave, Won't he do it? And he did it, and we were doing his will. So it just made perfect sense for him to do that for us. I was just so happy about that. We didn't have to be drenched. I mean, of course, I was ready. I was prepared. We did forget our umbrellas. But we were just gonna, there was shelter, had we had to witness. I did see that there was like a little space in between Foreman Mills where you walk in, there's a space, closed doors, and then you walk into Foreman Mills. So if we had to, we would have, made a purchase and just kind of, stood there and did what we had to do till the rain calmed down. But we didn't have to do that. But God, he always has a ram in the bush, doesn't he? He held back that rain for his saints, So you guys, that's the end of my testimony, saints. I'm feeling really exhausted and really happy right now at the same time, because this is my true love, doing the will of God. He is my joy, my strength, my life, my love, you guys. And I hope that I've actually inspired someone today, as I was out witnessing, or even through this video, that you go out and you do the same things, and do not be ashamed of the Lord. So with that being said, you guys, love you guys with the love of the Lord. You all be blessed. Your sister Truth Seeker, BKA Dawn B, out.